cool. Okay. Well, good afternoon. How is everybody doing this afternoon? And hello, Mama Joe and Barbara, and we got part of our crew here. We got Ben filling in for Clint tonight because he's got a viewing he's going to tonight. So he's going through a lot of stuff. So we need to keep him in your prayers with his vehicle and all that stuff. Just life's hard, right? Life's hard. But tonight we're going to be continuing our talk on our walk through Leviticus, and it's going to get kind of interesting. It seems like it's getting. Are y'all enjoying this so far? I mean, we're past all the slaughtering of all the animals and things for a while, so that's a good thing. Maybe my wife can start listening. She starts it, and then just. Like, okay, I can't listen no more. She stops because she's like, I can't listen to this. This is too much. But yeah, so we're kind of settling in. We're going to start singing. We're going to finish up this part about this early, the beginning of the practices here, or the with the priests, and then we're going to step into some of the food laws and things, and talk about that as well. So, with that, anybody want to open us up in prayer?
Lord Jesus, thank you for this time we have to worship you, to study the Bible, and learn things that we need to know. Thank you for Jason. Thank you for this church. Thank you for what we stand for. In Jesus' name.
Amen. All right. So last week we had a death, right? We had a couple sons of Aaron die because they use the wrong kind of fire, wherever that meant exactly. We're going to kind of continue talking about that a little bit here. Where they use the wrong kind of incense. I was listening to Skip Isaac talking about it when he was younger. Actually, it was a very old sermon. He's one of the guys that walks through the Bible. He's done it like 6 times with his church. Been in the same church all those years too, since the Jesus movement. It's pretty cool. Anyways, he's gone through the entire Bible over and over again on their Wednesday nights. And he was talking about that he thinks that they took a coal instead of going back to the altar and getting a hot coal from the altar. This is his speculation, that they just took a coal that was ready there and just lit it right there at the thing, instead of they just didn't do the right process, right? But he did bring up what I'm about to bring up here in verse 8, because it's kind of odd. This is why a lot of theologians think this is the reason. Maybe not so much, or maybe because maybe this is the reason why they did something, brought the wrong kind of fire, wrong kind of practice into it, is because of verse 8 here. And it says, "And the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, Drink no wine or strong drink, you or your sons with you, when you go into the tent of meeting, lest you die." Right? It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. You are to distinguish between the holy and the common, and between the unclean and the clean, and you are to teach the people of Israel all the statutes that the Lord has spoken to them by Moses. So, was this a response? That's the question. A lot of theologians think that this was a response to this action of these 2 young priests. Maybe they were, the process, the ordination's over, so maybe they're partying, they're happy, so they're partaking in a little alcohol, and maybe they got stupid and did the wrong thing. Maybe it's not written there like that. Or maybe it's just God putting it in here Is the next step for these priests, saying, okay, now we got this part done. Now I'm going to tell you, don't drink as priests, especially when you enter the tent. Don't come to work drunk, right? You're responsible for, for the holy things. You're good. And I highlighted there, you are, verse 10, you are to distinguish between holy and the common, between unclean and clean. And you are to teach the people of Israel all the statutes the Lord has spoken to them by Moses. And this, I think this all goes together, that you're supposed to be pure. You're supposed to be sober minded, right? And not be a drunkard, not be, bring those things, especially into the practice. And this is why would this be an issue too? Because when you think about so some of these practices with the wine and all, wine's a big thing. So you're going to be drinking wine. You can't, like the Catholics today, they can't leave the wine to the next morning, kind of thing. So when they have the wine for their Eucharists, they're supposed to drink the wine, all the wine, and not leave it to the next morning, which is a good principle that we see here, right? Not leaving it to the next morning, kind of thing. Keeping that same kind of manna tradition. But a lot of times they got to watch how much they put out there. And I think a lot of the Catholic traditions nowadays, they only give them the bread for the Eucharist kind of thing, and then the priests do the wine part. I may be mistaken, but I think some of the traditions, some of the churches, they don't do the laity doesn't get the right to have the drink, the blood. Only the priests do that part, and everybody else takes the wafer. I'm almost certain, and maybe that's one of the reasons is because they get all this extra wine. They're trying to make it all, and only 5 people show up, and you got all this extra wine. Oh, we got to drink it all. I don't know. It's just some speculation on my own as well. Anybody? I saw you pondering over there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. So interject anytime you want to. You just say, "Hey." All right. So verse 12. Moses spoke to Aaron and Eleazar and Ithamar, his surviving sons. Take the grain offering that is left of the Lord's food offerings, and eat it unleavened beside the altar, for it is most holy. You shall eat it in a holy place, because it is your due and your son's due from the Lord's food offerings. For so I am commanded. But the breast that is waved and the thigh that is contributed, you shall eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they are given as your due and your sons' due. All right, I gotta shut my phone up. This alerting me to everything in the world for some reason. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is all, this is how they sustain themselves, right? A lot of these sacrifices, a lot of these things, they're going to be taking and providing food for their families from this. I mean, they are, they don't get an inheritance like the other tribes do, but their job is serving the Lord, and there needs to be some kind of payment for that. Some people have criticized, especially the modern churches, with these guys getting paid lots of money and stuff, and which I get it. It's like, how much do you pay somebody? I mean, and people, thinking if you're serving the Lord, you should just do it for free, right? But that's an issue too. It's like, well, I mean, if you're going to be completely devoted like these guys are, completely devoted, then you need to, there needs to be some kind of support, right? You need to be supported some way. But like we support missionaries that they give their whole lives to going overseas and serving the Lord in that area and representing Christ in whatever churches that are supporting them. So they need to be taken care of, right? So this is kind of that principle here as well. Verse 15, the thigh that is contributed and the breast that is waved, they shall bring with the food offerings of the fat pieces to wave for a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be yours and your sons with you as a due forever, as the Lord has commanded. And I had a little insight on, we talked about the heave and the wave offering. this also listen to Skip. He's talking about the idea of the heave offering. Remember we were talking about it's like more of a vertical up and down heave offering. You're waving it. It's a wave offering, waving it up and down, and that's supposed to be between you and the Lord. All right. So you're sending. So this is a practice and honoring the Most High, right? Coming up to the Lord, and the wave offering was the back and forth, which was representing the people. So it's going for all the people, like the community kind of thing. So that was interesting. I was like, okay, cool. It'd be cool to watch this stuff, and see all these things take place. But all right, so now verse 16. Now Moses diligently inquired about the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt up. Oh no, did we not read this? I thought we did. And he was angry at Eleazar and Ithamar and the surviving sons of Aaron, saying, why have you not eaten the sin offering in the place of the sanctuary, since it is a thing most holy and has been given to you, that you may bear the iniquity of the congregation to make an atonement for them before the Lord. Behold, its blood was not brought into the inner part of the sanctuary. You certainly ought to have eaten it in the sanctuary, as I commanded. And Aaron said to Moses, behold, today they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, and yet such things as these have happened to me! Exclamation mark there, right? If I had eaten the sin offering today, would the Lord have approved? And when Moses heard that, he approved. Okay, so there's something going on here. So he's asking him, there's kind of a disagreement about how to do this stuff, right? Here between Moses and Aaron. And Moses is like, you're supposed to eat this stuff. You just let it get burnt up. And then Aaron's, I guess he's being hyper vigilant, right? Especially after seeing his sons get burned up. And he's like, I don't want to take anything without God's approval.
Well, they were scared.
Yeah, exactly. This is right after his sons, two of his sons have been burned up. And he's like, behold, today I have offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, and yet such things have happened to me. And to me, what's happened to him? He lost his sons, right? So he's like, I'm keeping, I'm keeping low. I'm watching every step. I'm not going out and tasting anything, eating anything, unless I know for certain that we're good. So, and then Moses was like, okay, I got you. I heard you. And he approved. All right. So I think that kind of closes up that. Any last comments from anybody about the whole interaction there? And one little thing there, we see that right after this very tragic thing, this is one thing people in ministry and all that you might be mindful, like Paul, the great example, especially right now with the deaths in the family and all, his mother passing away, his uncle passing away, yet still having to stop that down, right? And put on a happy face, come in here and do and minister to the Lord, right? Still do what he's called to do. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes in those kind of situations. This is the extreme right here, right? Aaron just lost his two sons right here, but he has to keep that. He can't tear his clothes, like we're talking about. Can't show the mourning right now because he's in front of the people. He's representing God in front of the people, and he can't show that. I'm raging right now. I cannot believe God just did this. You know what I mean? Why? Why is this happening? I mean, and this is the biggest indication right there at the end. He's not taking the food. He's like, I'm just not, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm still new to this. And this is, so he's still feeling it, but he's not showing that full emotion. And then his next two sons step up, and I'm sure they're weary of, this is serious. This is very serious, which it is. So, and thankfully today we have, vacations and things we can take, people to take over and fill in for you. And give you some time to recuperate and refresh from those kind of things. I don't know if these guys got vacations. Think so? I don't know. I know they have an early retirement plan. The retirement plan's at 50. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
What was the life expectancy?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't that long.
Each guy?
Probably. It probably was 50. It's like if you live to a long, ripe old age, then we're not going to let you do it anyways, right? So yeah, it was. And we'll see those kind of things where how it breaks it down. They can't. They have to be a certain age before they can start, and they can up to 50. Of course, you're still in the Levite clan. You're still doing things for the Lord, but you're retired. You're a retired priest. You don't have to do all the heavy lifting and all that stuff.
And many of the things like with the Levites and stuff, they did it 1 month of the year?
Talking about the priesthood stuff.
The Levites, as far as like
I don't know how.
working around the temple and stuff, like the gatekeepers, like Obed Edom.
Mm-hmm.
He was a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And I think because there's 12 tribes,
Mm-hmm.
they did it 1 month a year.
Well, and maybe we'll see it here.
Yeah, like
It's more
tribe of Dan done.
Some of those tribes it's not separated like that. It's you got the sons of Aaron, so that tribe. That's the priests, and then you have certain other tribes that their tribe was doing, like they were the carriers of the ark, they were handlers of the cleaners of the dishes and things like that. There were certain ones that packed up the tent. There were certain ones, so each tribe had their special duties, which you see more like in the Chronicles and all too.
I'm talking about when they
had
the temple.
Yeah,
they had, like, as I was saying, the gatekeepers.
Yeah, I think there was certain tribes that were there were certain tribes that were gatekeepers, and I can't remember. I just recently there's some real good indications, like in Chronicles and all, where it talks about those different families that were doing those different jobs. And maybe we'll run across some here, and I can't remember now. It all gets jumbled up in my brain. It's hard to remember specific. I do context well. I can remember context crazily, but as far as the actual scriptures, where they are, my brain doesn't work that way. But yeah, each of the tribes had their different jobs. I think we saw that back in Exodus as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but it does morph a little bit. It does change a little bit. We see if you really want to track that, it does kind of morph a little bit. Some of those jobs shift between the families.
What group of people were totally in charge? They didn't receive no land, no nothing.
That was
The Levites, yeah, they're the holy people. They're the family of priests. Of course, not all of them were the high priests, but like we're saying, some of them were the cleanup guys, the cleanup crews. Some are, because they're doing these sacrifices, they need people for different things. So it was a full time. That's what their jobs were. And they did farm. They did get portions of each of the tribes' land to farm and provide for their families and stuff like that. But for the most part, that was their duties. They were part of the holy people. The holy. So, all right. So, clean and unclean animals in chapter 11. Okay. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, these are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts of the hoof and whatever parts the hoof and it's cloven footed, and choose the cud among the animals you may eat." Okay, so why? This is one of the questions a lot. I get. Why? Anybody?
Well, the pig has a cloven hoof, but it doesn't choose a
Mm-hmm.
cud, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh. Camel has a cloven hoof. He don't choose a cud,
Yeah, camel chooses cutting.
so he don't have a cloven.
Right.
So I do something like
It's made, but okay. So why does God care about what these people are eating? Just in general, trying to look at the grant. We're going to get into a lot of these things, but why? Before we even get into them, why would he care? Anybody?
I don't have a clue.
Mama Joe, you got any answers?
Because God said so.
That's a great one. That's a great one. That's so
You're right.
Yes, because God said so. But I think also we have this. The God cares about even the small things. I talked about that recently too. He cares about even the smallest details. I think we talked about that last Wednesday night actually. He cares about the mold in your house, which we'll get to, which just blows me away that he cares about mold in your houses when they don't even have houses yet. It just when I got to that whole thing, we'll get to it later. It was so I found it so curious. I was like, you really do care about just the minute things. And remember, this is a world where he's telling them, he's giving them things to separate themselves from everybody else, from the world. So even with their food and what they eat, what they wear, how they handle themselves, how they treat others, we'll see when we get like the Leviticus 19 and all, we'll see how Jesus didn't come up with that loving your neighbor, loving the foreigner, loving your enemies. He didn't come up with that something new. This was in these scriptures, in this law. They were supposed to be different than everybody else. And this is part of it too, is they're going to have their certain dietary things that they're doing. And some of these things, scientists and all have looked at it and said, makes sense. They didn't have the science. They didn't have the education on that level back then, but God did, right? He knew which was healthy for you to eat, what was not healthy for you to eat. Like we'll get into the fish and all, or the shellfish. I mean, everybody knows nowadays, shellfish can be dangerous if you eat it the wrong months. I think there's something with the
oysters,
the R's or something,
Yeah.
those kind of things. I don't even know. I just trusted that the grocery stores know.
oysters in the month that have
Yeah,
like in the summer
yeah,
and stuff, they're not good.
yeah. The summers and all ain't good. So when they harvest them, they've got to, but we have processes and all now. We don't have to think about those things. Back then, they don't have that science, right? They don't have that knowledge, but God does. And he's caring for him. He's giving him things. Swine is a nasty, nasty thing it has parasites and everything else in it, especially back then. It loves mud, loves dirt, loves filth. You don't want to eat pig back then, especially. We like it now, but it's a whole lot cleaner. We don't just, of course, back then, this is very barbaric and lobby weight raw food. And, you don't eat raw pork. It has to be thoroughly cooked, right? Chicken, you got to make sure it's fully cooked. Beef, you can eat it raw if you want to. So these are things we know now. It's a lot cleaner food. So there's lots of reason here, but I think the main thing is there's two main things: to separate them from the rest of the world, right? To make them different than everybody else, and say, "I'm not doing this because God," like Mama just said, God said so, right? And also because He cares about them, and He cares about even the food they eat for their health reasons. Because not only a lot of these things are spiritual. Most of what we've been reading through are the spiritual things about sacrificing for the spiritual, for the sins, all those things. But he also cares about the body, how to take care of ourselves. and the body is a temple, right? And he gave us this body for a reason, so we need to take care of it. He cares about what we eat, what we drink, what we intake in our bodies. We need to respect that creation, and we'll see that a lot in all this law too. That he cares. We saw some in the Leviticus, the Exodus as well, where we see the heart of God caring about the animals, caring about what was we'll see the mother's milk. I can't remember.
Don't boil a goat, a young goat in
Yeah.
the mother's milk.
Yeah, these things like that are just, it's like, no, that's just not good. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So where are we at? So speak to the people saying these are the living thing. Blah blah. Okay. Verse 3. Whatever parts of the hoof and is cloven footed, and choose the cud among the animals you may eat. So they can eat cloven footed and choose the cud. What's choose the cud?
Like a cow has like 4 stomachs,
Mm-hmm.
but they can
Mm-hmm.
eat grass, and then that night while they're chilling,
Mm-hmm.
they can upchuck it
Mm-hmm.
and eat it, chew on it some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's yeah, it's pretty gross. But and this choose the cud is kind of cool too, because in their Hebrew, I just learned this today, this on the way here. That when they talk about meditating on God's word and in different scriptures, that the term there is what? Chewing on the cud. It's taking these scriptures, not just running through them, not just read them, not even knowing what you're reading, but chewing the cud, taking a piece, taking it, chewing it up, dissecting it, and then heaving it back up, right, and chewing it on it some more, chewing on it and chewing on it and chewing on it. It's a process. So I think that's really cool. Maybe that has some significance of these animals that chew the cud. Do what I tell you to do. Meditate on me. Meditate on my word. Meditate on the things that are good and holy and righteous, right? These animals do the same thing with their sustenance, right? They chew the cud. It's interesting. It's probably more scientific than that because God, is taking care of these people. But all right, so choose the cud among the animals you may eat. Nevertheless, among those that chew the cud or part of the hoof or part the hoof, you shall not eat these. The camel, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. So don't be tempted to eat a camel, please. And the rock badger, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. So some kind of badger, don't be eating that badger. And the hare, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, okay, is unclean to you. And the pig, because it parts the hoof and is cloven-footed but does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. And pigs will eat everything, anything and everything. They're kind of gross animals, and they really will eat everything. You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. But you're not supposed to touch any carcasses anyways. It makes you unclean. It's only touching dead things. These you may eat of all that are in the waters, everything in the waters that has fins and scales. All right, so you have fins and scales. So fish lovers, yay!
You don't know any catfish
Yeah. So you gotta have the fins. You gotta have scales. Whether in the sea or in the rivers, you may eat. But anything in the sea or the rivers that does not have fins and scales, of the swarming creatures in the waters, and of the living creatures that are in the waters, is detestable to you. So the catfish. So this catfish.
They don't have scales.
They don't have scales. I think I knew that. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. So God knows the science. He's like, they don't have these kind of animals. They're bottom feeders. They're like the pigs of the water, right? they're eating the junk. That's what they are. They're the carrion eaters or whatever. They get all the rest, all the nasty stuff.
It was like a carp, their bottom feeder,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. There's- You know how you can prepare them to eat them, right?
How's that?
Like a carp,
Mm-hmm.
you put him on a green cedar board.
Mm-hmm.
Just put it in the oven and bake it at 300-400 degrees. You take it out and throw the fish away to eat the board. No, it's all that coming.
I didn't know that one. That's good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So maybe that's part of it, right? Is it's the science behind it. These bottom feeders, these different fish, and they eat fins and scales. Fins and scales, swarming creatures in the waters. They'll be eating like eels and things, I guess. But the I don't know. Living creatures that are in the water, detestable to you. You shall regard them as detestable. You shall not eat any of their flesh. Then everything in the waters that does not have fins and scales is detestable to you. So that includes like the shellfish, the shrimp, the lobsters, those things. Which I joke, with the girls and all, because they like shrimp. And I was like, that's just water bugs, right? It's literally bugs. And they don't want to hear that. It's like this. But like we've already covered that. That's what they are. They're bugs. If they were on land, they were land creatures. We call them cockroaches or something. It's like you ever look at a lobster tail? It's like a big cockroach tail, or whatever. It's kind of gross. It's like, ugh. I don't know, but it's. People do eat, like we'll get into the bugs in here in a minute. There's certain kind of bugs you can eat, so we'll figure that out too. So verse 13, and these you shall detest among the birds. They shall not be eaten. They are detestable. The eagle, we can't eat the eagle. That's our nation's thing. The bearded vulture. Why would the vulture? And I think this has a lot to do with the carrion, right? The black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind. These are hunters. These are killers, right? Prey animals and carrion eaters. Every raven of any kind, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl, the cormorants, the short-eared owl, the barn owl, the tawny owl, the carrion vulture, even has the word carrion there, right? The stork, because they bring the babies, the heron of any kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat. We can include, so we're not too scientific, are we? We got the bat in here. So the bat. Don't be eating the bat.
They don't leave too many birds you can eat.
They don't leave too many birds you can eat. It's those, and if you look at this list, it's like the prey. These are prey animals, and the dead eaters as well. So we'll take that as well. And then we get on to the next verse. Verse 20. All winged insects that go on all fours are detestable to you. All fours or all sixes, I guess. Yet among, so don't eat no winged insects. That just fly around. Yet among the winged insects that go on all fours, you may eat those that have jointed legs. Okay, above their feet, with which to hop on the ground. Of them you may eat the locust of any kind, the bald locust of any kind, the cricket of any kind, the grasshopper of any kind, but all other winged insects that have 4 feet are detestable to you. What do you think? What do you think? And this is all from all these they're part of the same genus or whatever, the same kind or whatever, scientifically, right? They're all like cricket kind of things, locust kind of animals. I don't know. They're if it hops, you can eat it, I guess. You can't eat an ant. You can't eat bees, I guess. I don't know. I guess because it has stingers. Maybe it's got the poison. Maybe it's part of the poisoning aspect or something. I don't know. I don't know. Remember a few years ago, it was a cool thing to eat crickets and all, to eat the those big locusts and all. That was a big thing. It was a big thing with all, like, I think even like The View or whatever, they all had like some locusts or something. They were, yeah, it was a weird thing. I don't know who was pushing that, but it was really strange.
In the tribes of Africa, that's what they eat.
Yeah, if Eric was on here,
That's all they eat.
He'd probably tell you they eat some locusts. They do. So, and I remember going to, I used to have a buddy of mine, Jaime, and he loves Asian food and all, and kind of gave me a taste for it as well. But we'd go to those authentic, like, Asian stores, markets and stuff. And I remember being in one of those stores and going back here to the back, and they had a cooler, like a deep freezer. And I opened the cooler up by mistake. And they had, meat shrink wrapped containers with these giant, like, screeching cockroaches things. I was like, ready to eat. I'm just like, whoa. That's wild. Let's eat somewhere else. Yeah. That was pretty crazy. I'm just like, I'm okay. Well, Bible says not to eat that. Oh boy. So don't be eating cockroaches. Don't be tempted to eat those. Whew. Okay. And all right, where are we at? 24. And by these shall become, and by these you shall become unclean. Whoever touches their carcass may be unclean until the evening, and whoever carries any part of their carcass shall wash their clothes and be unclean until evening. I wonder how strict that is. We were just talking about bugs. I wonder, because like if you got a carcass of an ant, I bet you we're not that strict. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, that could mean all the other things like the birds and the fish.
Yeah, well, I mean that we specifically just came off the bugs. It's like don't be handling don't be handling bug carcasses. Or you're gonna be unclean until the evening. All right, so 26. Every animal that parts the hoof but is not cloven footed, okay, or does not chew the cud is unclean to you. Everyone who touches them shall be unclean. Okay. And I think this chew the cud does not chew the cud. This chewing the cud, what kind of animals chew the cud? I think it goes back to the birds as well, right? What are you saying? Cows, things that are non-violent, right? Are docile animals. I think there's a spiritual element to these things as well, besides the health issues. That these are not violent. They're not predators. They're not dead eaters, right? They're not defiled by eating dead things. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And 27, and all that walk on their paws among the animals that go on all fours are unclean to you. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. And he who carries their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean to you. Okay. So
Don't be no dog.
don't eat the dog. Don't eat the cat. Yeah. The ones with the paws. Don't be messing with them. Okay.
You don't ever see a stray cat around Chinese
Stop. I'm not gonna talk about that again. Oh, okay. Where are we at? 29. And these are unclean to you among the swarming things, the swarm on the ground, the mole rat, the mouse, the great lizard of any kind, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the lizard, the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that swarm. They swarm. Interesting.
Mine says creep.
Creep. Yeah, that sounds like a better word. Why did the ESV use swarm? That's not, whatever. I think that's a better translation there on that one. Whoever touches them when they are dead shall be unclean until evening. So don't touch these dead things. Anything on which any of them falls when they are dead shall be unclean, whether it is an article of wood or a garment or a skin or a sack, any article that is used for any purpose. It must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the evening, and it shall be clean. And if any of them falls into any earthenware vessel, okay, all that is in it shall be unclean, and you shall break it. Okay, why would you break it? This is specifically the earthenware vessel.
So you can't use it again.
Yeah, but why? Why are the earthenware? What's wrong with the earthenware?
The animal fell into it.
I think this is because the earthenware it's porous, right? You're talking about pottery, right? And it's porous. The things that that you cook out, you never get it completely clean if you're using pottery. You're using earthenware, it never gets completely clean. So yeah, if you get something unclean, spiritually unclean in it, it's useless. You can't use it anymore. And we'll see that differentiation here. Any food in it that could be eaten, on which water comes, shall be unclean, and all drink that could be drunk from either such vessel shall be unclean, and everything on which any part of their carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether oven or stove, it shall be broken in pieces. Wow. They are unclean and shall remain unclean for you. Nevertheless, a spring or a cistern holding water shall be clean, but whoever touches a carcass in them shall be unclean. So this running water, the idea of this running water, so it's purifying itself, right? So you don't have to tear up the cistern or whatever. And if any part of the carcass falls upon any seed grain that is to be sown, it is clean. Okay. That makes sense. Any seed grain that has been sown, it shall be clean. But if water is put on a seed and any part of the carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. Okay. Because I guess the deadness, right? The essence of the dead pours on it and soaks into the seed itself. Okay. Interesting. 39. If any animal which you may eat dies, whoever touches its carcass be unclean until the evening, and whoever eats of its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. And whoever carries the carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. All right, so he's not saying you can't eat the carcass. Like you've got a cow and it's for slaughter, but it dies, I guess. Then you can still eat it, but you're going to be unclean. Seems what it says. It doesn't say you can't
I
eat
don't think that anything just dies on its own. So
it. I know, that's what I'm trying to say here. So if any animal which you may eat dies, whoever touches it in the carcass may unclean it. Even whoever eats of its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. So it's still saying they can eat of it to survive, I guess. Probably not really great, but so that's interesting. But you're going to be unclean. You got to go through the cleaning process, right? Every swarming thing that swarms on the ground is detestable. It shall not be eaten. Whatever goes on it, whatever goes on its belly, whatever goes on all fours, or whatever has many feet, any swarming thing that swarms on the ground, or creeping thing, I guess, maybe is that the word there? You shall not eat. I wonder why is this swarming thing? I don't like that ESV, guys. What's up? For they are detestable. You shall not make yourselves detestable with any swarming, creeping thing that creeps and swarms, and you shall not defile yourself with them to become unclean through them. So don't eat no centipedes, or I think that includes those kind of things with the many legs and the millipedes and the and the snakes. That includes snakes, worms. I mean, what else? All kinds of things that do. Just I don't think in our modern culture we're going to really eat anyways. For I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am holy. Right? And that's what the idea. What does holy mean?
Set apart to God.
Set apart to God, right? So consecrate yourself, set yourself apart, right, from everybody else, and set yourself apart from me. This is what this is about. All this is about. The rest of the world is doing all these things, whatever they can get a hold of. They're eating, survive, right? And then you'll see this even today, like Barb was talking about, like in Africa, and different places, India, China, different places where they're poor. They don't have. They eat whatever's available, right? Yes, that's just. But here he's saying no, no. You have to eat what is holy. You shall not defile yourself with any swarming thing that crawls on the ground. Here's a crawl. There you go. Right. That must be totally different words. I'm going to look at that later. For I am the Lord who brought you up out of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. Yep. You shall be holy, set apart, for I am holy. This is the law about beast and bird and every living creature that moves through the waters and every creature that swarms on the ground, to make a distinction between the unclean and the clean, and between the living creature that may be eaten and the living creature that may not be eaten. Boom, boom. Okay. You got any problem with any of that? I don't really have a. Most of it kind of makes sense. I mean, we talked about how kind of the reasoning behind some of those things. I mean, and especially in that time period. Now we are free to eat whatever, all the beasts, all the creatures, we are free to eat. But that still doesn't make, does that mean we can eat whatever we want? Does that mean we should? Does that mean we should have a diet of Taco Bell and Burger King and, Popeye's chicken every day? Probably not, right? We probably still need to keep our be holy because God is holy. Eat cleanly to what we know, and take care of our bodies. You know what I mean? All right. So, oh my God, we got a whole chapter and okay. All right. So purification after childbirth. Okay, this might get a little messy here. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days." So she's unclean for 7 days. But at the time of her menstruation she shall be unclean, and on the 8th day of the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. So the 8th day, with the circumcision, right? Then she shall continue for 33 days in the blood of her purifying. She shall not touch anything holy, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying are completed. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying for 66 days. I'm a guy. I don't know how this. I'm sure that's really good reasoning for all this. And this has definitely changed with science and with new technologies and new processes and everything else. This is not necessary as was back then, I guess. Right? And why the difference between the male and the female child? Any guesses? Anybody? Let's see what y'all think.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Anybody else out there got any idea? Let's see what this enduring word says. Let's see what they say about this. Okay, so if anyone can see the born male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days. After giving birth to a male child, the mother was considered ceremonially unclean for 7 days. The boy was then circumcised on the 8th day. We got that. Thank you. Mary, the mother of Jesus, brought him to the temple on the 8th day after his birth. Luke 22:21. Jesus fulfilled the law in every respect, including the circumcision on the 8th day. Okay. But I was just trying to figure out these other things.
That's a good question.
Huh?
What's the difference between a male and a female being born? One a week and one 2 weeks.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's see here. This is about circumcision. Yeah, they kind of just skipped over the. Let's see if we can skip down here. Then she shall continue the blood in the blood of her purity 33 days. Okay, let's see what this says about this. So I really don't understand what they're talking about there. I don't remember. Maybe we skipped over it like really fast over it last time too. Me and Eric went through it. When a son was born, a mother's ceremonial uncleanness lasted an additional 33 days for a total of 40 days of ceremonial impurity after giving birth to a male child. There were several reasons for this, but one important reason was to give an Israelite mother an ancient equivalent to the modern maternity leave. Okay, that makes sense. Her ceremonial uncleanness relieved her of many social obligations. Mothers welcomed these days of rest, seclusion, and bonding with their newborn. Okay, so that's, and some of these things, I have to admit, some of these things we, especially the modern theologians and commentators and stuff, will look at these things and find a way to make it seem like it's, pleasant. It's a great thing, and equivocate it with, and sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And sometimes I'm like, is that really what it was? Is this really what it was about? Or I don't know. Maybe. Let's see here. In the law of the ancient Israel, blood and sacred associations, it was understood that the life of a being was in their blood. Loss of blood can mean the loss of life. The blood of menstruation made a woman ritually unclean. Even animals had to be bled in a certain way in sacrifice or slaughter. Since childbirth is always associated with blood, it makes sense that there was a special ritual purification after childbirth because life is in the blood. Leviticus 17:11. The loss of blood requires some purification to acknowledge the sanctity of life. Well, we're not going to get hung up on this, but what is it? Hold on. Where's it at? I just saw female birth. Where do you go? But if she bears a female, if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks. The time period for each phase was double that was required when giving birth to a son. For the birth of a daughter, a woman was unclean for 14 days, followed by 66. The mother of a female child received double of the ancient equivalent of maternity leave. On the purely physical side, it will bear close and reverent consideration, providing as it did for the perfect repose. What the? You're speaking gibberish. Okay. Maybe just a more bonding time because it is a female. Maybe in their mind they thought. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, we're gonna leave that alone. Unless somebody has a good explanation, I don't really know. We just know there is that part of the blood, the life blood being gone, so they need that purification time. We see that in the law during menstruation. The woman is seen as unclean, so they can't go to temple, they can't do those things. And positive side, we put the commentator put a positive twist on this, saying, hey, they enjoyed the time off. So maybe that's, culturally, they probably did. I mean, today, we tried pushing that kind of law on people, on women. I think we might have riot. We might have some big protests. Might have some problems. You can't go to church today, honey. Sorry. Okay. Let's try to finish this up real quick on verse 12. I mean, this chapter 12. Verse 6, and when the days of her purifying are completed, whether for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a lamb, a year old for a burnt offering, and a pigeon and a turtle dove for a sin offering. And he shall offer it before the Lord and make atonement for her. Then she shall be clean from the flow of her blood. This is the law for her who bears a child, either male or female. And if she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves and 2 pigeons, one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her, and she shall be clean. Okay, so there's a special purification process because of this bloodletting, and clean, being holy, being clean is an important thing to God. It doesn't mean you're condemned, right? It just means there's a process we have to go by to get ourselves right. If you mess around with a dead animal, maybe that's your job. That's I'm a dead animal cleaner upper guy. You're probably gonna, take a lot of time to, you get really used to that ritual of getting clean after cleaning up. Like those 2 that had to come in and remove the body. Back in the chapter 10, or 2 of the cousins had to come in and remove the body. Guess what? The bodies of their cousins. Guess what? They're unclean, and they got to go off for 7 days or whatever and make sure they're cleaned up. Right. So, all right, and then we're going to get into the leprosy stuff. Cool. Very cool. Laws about leprosy. And when you're talking about leprosy, this is more than just it's a very general term for skin diseases, for rashes, for things like that. There is a leprosy, which is a terrible, thing that we don't really have to deal with too much in our modern world because of our, because I think it's a bacterial kind of thing. So we have cures for that kind of thing, but it would definitely be gross and keep you out of the community. It's pretty tragic, but and maybe we'll kind of talk about how awesome it is, especially exposing here in the Jewish mind of how horrible the leprosy, people with leprosy were in the culture, that Jesus actually walked up and actually touched these people. So when we read through this, we'll see, this was a big deal. And this would have shocked people looking on to see this rabbi coming up and not only talking to these people that were shunned by society, but actually touching it. This was a no-no. You don't do this because you're going to, that makes you gun clean for, for a very long time too. Right. So there's a whole process to all this stuff of getting clean from this as well. All right. So we are done for the day. Shift this back over here where I can see it. And any last words? Any last comments? Barbara?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Well, it was fun. See, I figured it out with the cameras. It's pretty cool. I got us up here. I got the dual camera going on here today. So you can see the broom and me at the same time. I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, I geek out on those kind of things. But all right, so who wants to close this up?
Father, thank you for the honor and privilege of coming into this study. We thank you for what we learned. And we thank you for what Jason does, and we just ask your blessings for him and his family, for all our loved ones and friends here. We just praise your holy name. Glory to God. Amen.
Amen. All right, love you guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Love you, Mama Joe.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.